David Scotton is an attorney in New Orleans, Louisiana. He's also an adoption advocate. This man was only seconds away from not having life at all. David is the subject of this award-winning documentary, I Lived on Parker Avenue. Over the past several years, David has shared his family's adoption story all over the nation, TV, radio, speaking at events. He's currently in the process of creating his own adoption practice. David loves spending time with his wife, Piper. Please help me welcome David Scotton.
Hey, how's everybody doing? I love the energy here today. This is so awesome. I am so excited to be here and be a part of this event. My name is David Scotton, and I am an attorney in the New Orleans, Louisiana area. And I gotta ask, is anyone here from Louisiana? There we go. Is this the Lake Charles group? I'm glad you're here. The rest of you, I'm glad you're here too, but I gotta love Louisiana. Well, I'm excited to be here today, and I'm not here today to talk to you about the practice of law. I'm here today to talk to you about something so much more important, so much more crucial to why you are here today. And it all starts with a story that goes all the way back to 1993. In 1993, Melissa and Brian, they were 18 years old. They were seniors in high school. They didn't have any money saved, and Melissa was pregnant. They didn't know what to do. But the first thing they thought of was to have an abortion. They thought that was the only option. And so they decided to go to the abortion clinic that day in Indiana. But to get into the clinic, they had to pass the pro-life protesters that were praying for them on the sidewalk, that were talking to them, that were trying to get them to change their mind. And one woman from the sidewalk told Melissa, "Your baby has 10 fingers and 10 toes." And Melissa still proceeded inside the abortion clinic, ready to abort her child. And she actually sat on the abortion doctor's table, when all of a sudden, she realized that her baby was real, that her baby was special, and that her baby was meant for someone special, as she thought back to what the lady outside the clinic had told her. So she decided to leave the abortion clinic and choose adoption. And that's how I'm here today. I was that baby 28 years ago. And that's the beauty of adoption. That's the power of adoption. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for that lady outside the clinic so many years ago. I wouldn't be here today if my birth mother didn't bravely get off that abortion clinic table and choose life and choose adoption. And if she hadn't made that decision, you would have needed another speaker today. And believe it or not, I never really, growing up, wanted to share the fact that I was adopted. I always felt different. I always felt like I didn't fit in. And I felt that way because of experiences that I had growing up adopted. You know, kids would find out that I was adopted, and the first thing they would ask was, well, who's your real mom? Who's your real dad? And they didn't understand what adoption was, because my real mom and my real dad are Jimmy and Susan Scotton, my adoptive parents. But these were the questions that I always got growing up. So I never wanted to share it. But my parents were so proud of the fact that I was adopted, they would tell everybody. They would go to school and they would tell all of my peers. So one by one, they gradually would find out. And so I kept getting these questions that made me feel like I didn't fit in, and I didn't know why. And I'll never forget, I was on this playground This is a long time ago. And one of the girls who found out that I was adopted asked in front of everyone, or I should say exclaimed, "So you're an orphan?" And my face just got so red, I was so embarrassed, I didn't know what to say. And I still think about that moment to this day. And it wasn't the fact that she called me an orphan, it was the fact that she didn't understand adoption. Because the adoption option is still pretty stigmatized in society today. So as I grew up, I still didn't want people to know that I was adopted. And I went to an all-guys Catholic high school in New Orleans, and I was trying to find where I would fit in. And I always knew that my birth mother was originally in an abortion clinic. Never really upset me, because I was just thankful to have life. I was thankful to have my parents and grandparents. But my mom suggested that I join the pro-life club. And I am very glad that I did. I went there in 8th grade, and I joined the pro-life club, and I started to learn about these issues. I started to learn about abortion. I started to learn about the adoption option. And I started to go to the March for Life every year. And only then did I really start to grasp the significance of my birth mother's decision, because that was not an easy decision, not an easy option at all. And at that point, I still didn't know who my birth mother was. We didn't have any identifying information. I knew her name was Melissa, and that was about it. And I never really wondered who they were that often. Every now and then, I would think about who they were, and then the thought would just kind of slip out of my mind. But I decided to join this pro-life oratory contest. And you won't believe, this isn't a joke, you won't believe what led me to join that contest, because I still didn't want people to know that I was adopted. In 9th grade, I ended up having a brain surgery, and I went back to school a year later and had this big scar down the back of my head. It made me feel so externally different. Because at an all-guys high school, that you get comments like, "Bro, what's going on with your head, man?" So as I started to get these comments, I just started to feel like I wasn't being myself. And around the same time that I was starting to come back to school, I heard about this oratory contest. And I felt a calling. I felt God inspiring me to say yes. Let's share this story and see what happens. Maybe it'll affect one person. So I decided to share it. And at that point, the only part of the story was the fact that my birth parents were in an abortion clinic. So I shared the story, and exactly 1 month later, we heard from my birth mother for the first time. We went home, we listened to a voicemail machine, because back then they still had voicemails on a home phone. And it was my birth mother calling. And I just remember feeling so overwhelmed. I didn't know what to say, but we decided to write a letter back. And in my letter, I asked her if she had Facebook. She could add me on Facebook. I would have said Instagram, but they didn't have Instagram back then. I got one laugh out of that. And sure enough, she added me on Facebook, and we started communicating. And I realized that I had a full-blood biological sister to whom I was a big brother. And I realized that I have a half-sister as well. And growing up an only child, I had always wanted a sibling. So to find this out was just so overwhelming. And we started communicating for about a year. And I didn't want to meet at first. I wasn't ready. But after we talked for a while, I realized that this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet the woman who bravely left that clinic and chose adoption. So we planned the meeting. I met both of my birth parents. And thanks to my wonderful friends at Louisiana Right to Life, it was filmed into a documentary called I Lived on Parker Avenue. And that's a trailer that you just saw today. The documentary shows our real-life first-time meeting. So I hope that today you'll go home and watch it. And have fun news as well. The documentary was turned into a movie called Life Mark that just released this year in theaters. So when you go home, you can go watch a documentary and go watch a movie. That's your homework today, okay? But the documentary, the movie, they're powerful resources for us to be able to show the value of one decision, the value of one life. And I know my time's running up. I'm on a strict time limit here. I got 28 seconds. If I can leave you with one thing today, I hope that you see me standing here today and realize that I am here because of people like you. Pro-life people who do the work on the ground, pro-life people who stand for life and who support the adoption option. I was seconds away from being just another number, just another abortion that occurred that day in Indiana. And thanks to God and thanks to my brave birth mother and that pro-life protester that day so many years ago, I'm here. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for coming to the March for Life. I hope that you'll be inspired by this testimony and the amazing testimonies of everyone else here today. I hope that you'll go home, you'll go to the March for Life, and remember that your work saves lives, your work builds families, and truly, I cannot thank you enough for what you do and for being here today. So thank you so much. It's been an honor. Have a good day.